Well, thanks again, Darren, and we're down here. It might be the Holden versus Ford Memorial here for the Whitten Festival of Speed, but there's a bit of European flavour here. We're going right back to the Deutschland days, and we've got Peter Fowler here, who goes right back to the early days of sports sedan racing in Australia, which started in, 72, 73, the early 70s, and he's got two immaculate cars here. He's got the VW and also a Mercedes. Peter, thanks for joining us, and I must say the level of presentation of these things, they look like they're just straight out of the workshop.
Well, this one is. It's a recreation of the original car. I built the original VW Chev in 1973, and Bryan and I raced it for 2 years, and we set lots of lap records, and it was very busy 2 years. But then Bryan wanted to retire and look after his business, so we sold the car and it went off into Never Never Land. And the rules were changed a couple of years later that this configuration wasn't legal anymore, and so the car was scrapped. It was all pulled apart, and the McLaren parts were put back into an M10B, and I believe it went off to the US or somewhere. So the car was lost to the country, and in those days, 74, 75 we're talking, there was no such thing as historic cars. There was no interest. You built your new car out of the bits left over from the old car. And so, there was no reason to preserve it. And all these years later, well, in 1980, I built the Mercedes sports sedan, and we won a title with that Australian title in the GT series, Bryan and I. And we're very fortunate that it never got chopped up or anything. The car is exactly as I built it in 40 years ago. Yeah, and so to have the two cars here is a real privilege. Now, the VW is a recreation that I've just spent the last 3 years building, and we're very fortunate in the historic sports sedan category to have Simon Fitzner as the mentor of the class, and Simon's from Adelaide, and he owns the Benz. And in discussions, we talked about it and talked about the loss of the VW, and we came to a deal. And long and the short of it is, we've built a tribute car. It's not identical to the nut and bolt, but it's pretty good. And I've got the privilege of having a drive. I'm not a driver, I'm the nuts and bolts man and the designer. And I said to Bryan just recently, Bryan Thomson, I said, in the old days I used to design the car, build the car and drive the truck. Now I've got to do all those things and drive the car. And he thought that was a bit of a joke. He said, self-inflicted, Pete. So, but it is a privilege to drive it.
So with the engine, what have you got onto it now? Because when you said you took out the McLaren M10B bits, what have you got in, and how much horsepower is putting it out?
It was built out of an M10B. We unbolted the engine, transmission, rear suspension, and fitted it into the VW. Well, we recreated that with McLaren. This car's got McLaren uprights, M10B uprights and brakes, and all those sort of things, and the same engine and gearbox, a 5-litre Chev, Lucas injection, the Wright McKay manifold, which came from Alan Hamilton with some help, and DG300 Hewland transmission. So overall, the car is exactly the same configuration as it was. To have both the cars here and preserved, and they'll live on a lot longer than myself. So, it's quite a privilege.
Mate, thanks for joining us, because it is a work of art, and as you can see, this thing is immaculate, the Mercedes just as well, so keep an eye out on that track, and I'm sure, Darren, you'll be a bit more interested to have a look at how it goes this weekend as well. Back to you.